Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and labor in this word and doctrine. So this video we're going to go through humanism, but we start off in this Wikipedia article, Renaissance, and it was Brother Mashad that wanted us to do this video. It's Brother Azan, by the way, over here with me, and it says the Renaissance is a period in European history marking the transition from the Middle Ages to modernity and covering the 15th and 16th centuries, characterized by an effort to revive and surpass ideas and achievements of classical antiquity. It occurred after the crisis of the late Middle Ages and was associated with the great social change. So just to give some input regarding what's been written here. It goes into the transition from the Middle Ages to modernity, because really this period is now the time, well, it's the Renaissance, it's the rebirth, because there was a time when Esau Edom was not ruling, and then afterwards, he then was ruling once again. So it's the rebirth of his kingdom, the Renaissance. Do you want to bring that out? Revelation 20.
Book of Revelation, chapter 20.
Start one.
Revelation chapter 20 from the top. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit.
And this angel, Yahweh Shai is the top angel in heaven, and through him everything is made, and through the word things are decreed out here. So he's that angel who has that key of the bottomless pit, and the bottomless pit is actually referring to Europe. And then that key is because he's locking and he's sealing something within that bottomless pit. So read it from the top again and go through.
And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand.
So that chain in his hand, well, that's going to be for binding. So verse 2.
And he laid hold on the dragon.
So this is who he's going to bind, the dragon, the drakon in the Greek, meaning like a fiery, like a serpent, like a majestic serpent thing. It's crafty, it's deceiving. That's what dragon is. Drakon. Keep reading.
That old serpent.
That old serpent. And who is that old serpent? That old serpent in the garden, who is the pre-incarnation, the proto of, well, I should just make it very clear and precise, Esau Edom is the old serpent, he is Cain, okay? And his generation, his seed line of the same, of their father, Cain, the wicked one, okay? That's why they're the devil. Well, they're the old serpent now, if you keep reading. Slaki, I watched that.
Which is the devil and Satan.
Slaki, read it from the beginning.
Verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil.
The devil, the deceiver, go on.
And Satan.
Shaitan, the adversary, go on.
And bound him 1,000 years.
So he was bound. That chain was around, he was bound. He was a low place, kept in captivity in the bottomless pit, which is Europe, for 1,000 years. And then what happened after 1,000 years? Verse 3.
And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him.
Right, so Salaki, keep reading.
That he should deceive the nations no more.
Okay, so at one point he wasn't deceiving the nations. He was sealed. Okay, so I'm glad I thought the next verse will clarify, but it goes into him being sealed. He was shut up. He was locked. He was bound. He was under our authority. He was subordinate to us. He was a slave. Literally, that's what the word slave comes from. Okay, and then now they use it, of course, to refer to our captivity, but nevertheless, we're serving our captivity now, and we were ruling at one point for 1,000 years until they were then taken out of that bottomless pit. The Edomites they weren't sealed in that bottomless pit, rather. Salakia, sorry for that, I worded that pretty bad. But we were at one point ruling, and then we got transitioned to that low place, okay? There was a switcheroo. Keep reading, Babakusha.
Alright, verse 3 from top again. And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled.
And that has been fulfilled. The Middle Ages is where we were ruling. The Dark Ages, as they call it, because they were so-called dark peoples. That's now over, and they're ruling and they're deceiving the nations to this very day. Keep going.
And after that, he must be loosed a little season.
And now this is that time where he's loosed. Verse 4.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua.
So the witness of Yahushua, and that's the elect. The elect are going to have the true testimony of the Messiah. Keep going.
And for the word of Yahweh, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahushua 1,000 years.
All right. So again, it says that the people were beheaded and whatnot. These members of the elect, they're going to reign with Yahushua 1,000 years. Now this is a separate 1,000-year period, okay? But these people are the people that escaped, okay? The mark and the image, okay? They reign for 1,000 years, and that's a different 1,000-year period, because once the 1,000 years where he's being loosed, okay? When he's loose for a little season, when that 1,000 years is done, that's when we're ruling again. Okay, because we weren't ruling with Hamashiach back in the Middle Ages, and that's not happening right now. Okay, right now the earth is still being deceived, and right now they're getting ready to push out the MOTB. Okay, and we're going to see the image of the beast speaking. Okay, but what we're going to find out is the Renaissance period, they were actually pushing out things that pertain to the image of the beast, but isn't the entire image of the beast. For any of you that are mistaken, or think that the image of the beast is actually referring to a picture of who the world calls Jesus Christ. And that is not so. It's like I've been horizontal this whole time. Didn't even clock. If I just actually keep reading a little bit, because we went to the scriptures for a long time. So now, this period of the Renaissance, this is talking about when Esau Edom, his kingdom was reborn. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. The traditional view focuses more on the early modern aspects of the Renaissance and argues that it was a break from the past, but many historians today focus more on its medieval aspects and argue that it was an extension of the Middle Ages, which isn't really so, because we were ruling in that period of time. So when it transitioned and other school of thoughts was them being exalted, then it wouldn't necessarily be true for it to be an extension, so to speak. And I'm glad I even mentioned such a manner, because we're going to just get straight to the point here. It reads here, the intellectual basis of the Renaissance was its version of humanism. Now we're going to go to this word humanism real quick. And it says Renaissance humanism. That's what happens when you click it. It was a revival. I'll read it. Renaissance humanism was a revival in the study of classical antiquity, which, basically antiquity goes into some ancient, I believe. Classical antiquity, also the classical era, classical period, classical age, is a period of cultural history between the 8th century BC and the 6th century AD, centered on the Mediterranean Sea, comprising the interlocking civilizations of ancient Greece and ancient Rome. Alright, so that's basically what they were. That's basically their how do I explain it? So that's basically what they were studying. Okay, that's what they were endorsing for them to gain wisdom, knowledge regarding to their philosophy and whatnot, and the stuff that they've implemented in their schools, and they do that to this day. Of course, it's all an extension from really from here, okay. And then it all changed in those times, like the 1960s, the counterculture movement and whatnot. But this is really an early time period. This is where like the Edomites are ruling again. So that's when wickedness was taking power on earth again. So this is actually really the beginning, the rebirth. Now it says, at first in Italy and then spreading across Western Europe in the 14th, 15th and 16th centuries. During the period, the term humanist, Italian umanista, referred to teachers and students of the humanities, known as the Studio Humanitatis, which included grammar, rhetoric, history, poetry and moral philosophy. It was not until the 19th century that this began to be called humanism instead of the original humanities, and later by the retronym Renaissance humanism, to distinguish it from later humanist developments. Okay, but now it says during the Renaissance period, most humanists were Christians, so their concern was to purify and renew Christianity, not to do away with it. Their vision was to return ad fontes, to the sources, to the simplicity of the New Testament, bypassing the complexities of medieval theology. Whoa. Okay. Today, by contrast, the term humanism has come to signify a worldview which denies the existence or relevance of the Most High, or which is committed to a purely secular outlook. In other words, it's almost like expounded to just be the whole point, just to basically lie to the ultimate degree where people would, as it reads, it says a worldview which denies the existence or relevance of the Most High, or which is committed to a purely secular outlook. Imagine saying there's no relevance. Can you get Psalm 14 in one piece? Because this is just ridiculous. No relevance of the Most High. Like, if there's a creator, he doesn't serve a purpose. That's the thing about the whole free will thing as well. Like Prosi does, he's in charge, he's in power. Everything is his will. Everything that's happening is his desire to happen. You got it?
Yeah, 14 and 1. The book of Psalms, chapter 14 from the top. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good.
Mm-hmm. A fool would say that, man. Right now we live in a time where everyone is very foolish. And the school, the schools that we have today, anything where they're educating us, any form of education is really just promoting wisdom of the world, promoting philosophers that go all over the place, which is indeed foolishness, indeed twice. And just to bring it back, rate it back a little bit, it says to purify and renew Christianity. Well, really, what did they do in the Renaissance period, man? They were messing up images, just like the Greeks. If you get that Maccabees.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, and verse 48. And laid up in the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
So they would paint the likeness, the resemblance of their resemblances. They would change up the images, and that's what they would do in the Renaissance period as well, man. The same old nation, man, the Edomites, they're doing the same wicked things they do because they're the wicked one that the scriptures talk about. And they were the devil, Satan, that were bound for 1,000 years, and then the Renaissance happened. And what did they do? They did what they call renewing, allegedly. Renewing it, man, purifying it, cleansing it. Really what they did was they completely lied. They did what's known as iconoclasm. And I'm going to get this word, iconoclasm, 1797, in reference to an act of breaking or destroying idols figuratively from 1858 in reference to beliefs, cherished institutions, etc. See iconoclast, an older word for it was ikonomachy, for deities from Greek, ikonomachia, and icon means an image, an icon. That's where the word icon comes from. They're destroying images. Okay, now not every image is an idol, of course, but there's obviously physical things that are erected, in places. The actual images, there were paintings and whatnot in that time in the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, again because they were dark people. But then they did what? They completely they so-called whitewashed them. They red-washed them. They completely dirtied it out with their lies, and they speak in blasphemy, man, when they do it. If you go to Revelation 13, and that's gonna get you more things about Rome, man, and the bottomless pit. And this is that time when they start changing, because the whole thing about Christianity and the whole Roman Catholic Church, it's part of the image of the beast, but it's not only thing relevant to the image. The whole Roman vibe, the whole things that the Romans pushed out, the whole frequency is part of that image, is part of the philosophy, the doctrine. That's what the image is. It's their philosophy, it's their lies, the doctrines, man. No, read out.
Book of Revelation, chapter 13, from the top. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Okay, so this beast with 7 heads and 10 horns is indeed talking about the 4th beast in Rome that had 10 horns, man. And the 7 heads and 10 horns, the NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and the EU, the European Union. And it says that upon the names, the heads of blasphemy. Why blasphemy? It's because these damn Edomites, they've basically completely lied on who and what the actual image, how they look like. Images that portray things pertaining to the scriptures. They've made images that lie. They're speaking ill against the scriptures. They're actually making false statements about what our Messiah looks like. Okay, and they're using paintings to show false images, which is actually a major sin, because that mark they have upon them is a mark showing their sin. It was put upon them. And they're trying to put that to our Messiah, which is a lie. The scripture said that the Messiah had skin burnt brass. That's milk. Revelation 1, chapter 1 to verse 14. You know? You want to get Revelation 13 again?
I've got it actually.
Verse 2.
Verse 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat and great authority.
And we'll hold on the rest and get to the point about the dragon. And you know, if any of you are in need of information on that, there are many videos out there. In regards to the dragon, again, the dragon gave him his power. That dragon again is what? Esau, man. Okay, the power was unto the beast because Esau was ruling it, man. The damn deceiver, the serpent that was crafty and cunning. He made everyone think that he was down with them, he was looking out for them, and really he was against them. Okay, and you know this role, it prophesies. It prophesies. So I have to clarify if that's the right word. There's prophecies in it, and the scriptures speak and prophesy of the time when the Renaissance period was to actually come. Because if we go into Revelation 13, in fact, if you go to verse 11, Bakasha.
Book of Revelation chapter 13 verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Verse 12, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them.
So the main point was that this is a different beast, and I beheld another beast coming up, as it reads, right? And it was separate from the beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns. So this one had 2 horns like a lamb. Now the 2 horns like a lamb is because, of course, this is referring to America, and it was divided, okay, into two, the plebeians and patricians, just like the Romans, the Democrats, Republicans, okay, just the same thing. The people of low class and the upper class. It's all still part of the same shit, though. And it said he spake as a dragon, as a dracon as well, as a cunning, crafty person. And it said he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and that's Rome. So it's expansion of the Roman Empire, okay? So I'm sure that's very clear now. Now, keep reading.
And causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
Whose deadly wound was healed. Now, Rome's wound was healed because Esau, at one point, he wasn't ruling. We were ruling in those dark ages. Jake was all up in there, and we were royalty while they were doing all the lowly jobs where they weren't making much. They were under us, completely subordinate. You know, we are dumbbound, man. So they were they were like in a time when they were just they were in the bottomless pit, a never-ending grave, because they didn't get to do wickedness and let it go across the whole damn earth. But now they get to do that because they're the ones who now have their wound healed, starting from Rome, because Rome was the beast whose deadly wound was healed, and Edomites ruled in Rome, man. Okay, keep reading.
Verse 13, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in sight of men.
Right, you know, the scorched campaign. America does all this type of stuff. Does all, you know, even before they were showing these miracles, like the Oppenheimer, the nuclear bombs and whatnot, showing that they have all this power. Their blessing is the sword and whatnot. That's how they get people to listen to them. That's, you know, and they, with the sword, they've been able to take over, and they've been able to be the devil, to be able to make up such a lie, to take over. Like even things like Constantine, you know. You can see images of him being a so-called black man, but they have images up, and they'll make up all this stuff about how no, look, what about these? But really, they were actually changing them up and making up lies. Iconoclasm. Keep reading.
Verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live.
And that is indeed Rome, and the image. Okay, that's the likeness, the resemblance. What image means, man. Let's get this real quick. And this word for image here is icon, again, an image, a figure, a likeness. And if you're making a likeness to the beast, you're doing the same philosophies and doctrine. Again, that's what's going on right now. It started from the Renaissance period, where they were pushing out, they would start to change and renew allegedly what they call Christianity, which is already, Christianity is already the way that is, you know, Christianity is a lie. You know, our doctrine isn't like Christianity, because, you know, Christianity isn't of the truth for any newcomers out here. So, you know, what they're doing is they're pushing out their deception. So their plan, which has clearly worked for those except the elect, and, you know, of course, he's given some people, you know, some some sight to see about the lies and whatnot. But what he's done, Esau Edom has been able to make the lies keep it going all the way to this moment right now, where people barely even question if they even care, because they're really focused on rudiments of the world, and that's part of it really, because it's of the world. Colossians 2:8, it reads, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. And philosophy of this world, it is of Esau Edom, and everything of the world, everything that isn't of this truth, it really is vain, it's idle, it's worthless, and it's deceitful, it's a lie. After the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach. Okay, so don't follow men that are not of the Messiah, because of course Paul said to follow him. 1 Corinthians 11:1, be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Hamashiach. It's because he was a follower of Hamashiach. Ultimately, that's who we're following. But we'll have men to teach us, like our elders, man. And I believe the main point in Revelation, I might as well pull it up here, and I didn't pull it up on my phone this whole time, but I'm going to get Revelation 13 and 15, Babak Shah.
Yeah. Verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Right, and that's what's coming, man. That's the type of wrath that the wicked one, Esau Edom, is actually coming with, man. He's gonna come in. He's gonna want you to do anything that he says that you have to, that you have to do. That is of course mandated. I'm trying to be very safe here. Anything to do with a thing, anything to do with timing and restrictions. Anything about you can't go here because you haven't taken the thing, or you have to take the thing because this will be a consequence, or you won't be able to do this very, very crucial thing because you haven't taken this thing and you haven't signed up for this thing, and all that kind of stuff. Whatever the thing is, there's a lot of things in that sentence, but you get the gist. Whenever there's stuff that are going to be mandated, whenever new, more unfortunate events occur of wickedness that really has to happen, it's really part of prophecy. It's for prophecy's sake. When things get more heated out here, bit by bit they're going to come with more wrath, because they know that this is the end, man. Revelation 12 and verse 12, it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. So we should be in time of rejoicing, because even I said, because remember I said it unfortunate, then I said that it's the Lord's will. So it's not really necessarily a contradiction, or like it's not really, it's the way you harmonize it is that everything is for prophecy's sake, take comfort in everything, but it's not always pleasant to know that you might have to see your own, I don't know, your uncle gets killed because someone comes, lack of bread in their home, because of the lack of bread in their home, they come into the uncle's home and kill him. But it's all the Lord's will, It says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So he knows that it's the end of him being able to push out these lies, alright? To be able to make education the way it is today. So he's going to come out heavy, man, like a flood. A flood, it just overthrows you when it comes upon you, man. Isaiah 59 and 19. When it says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. And ultimately, the Lord in heaven, man, it's everything is his will. So everything that happens is already set up. If he gets Edomites to come persecute you, he set them up to do that, for them just to get judged, or to show his glory, or for you to get that affliction for what is needed and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And I'll get this real quick. Now we're going to read this when you go down to paganism and Christianity in the Renaissance. Many humanists were churchmen, notably Pope Pius II, Sixtus IV, and Leo X. And there was often patronage of humanists by senior church figures. Much humanist effort went into improving the understanding and translations of biblical and early Christian texts, both before and after the Reformation, which is greatly influenced by the work of non-Italian, Northern European figures such as Erasmus, Jacques Lefebvre d'Étape, I think that's French, William Grossin, and Swedish Catholic Archbishop in exile, what's his name, Olaus, I'm not sure how to pronounce the man's name, Ola, I'm not sure, but either way, so as you can see, these individuals are people that were of the Roman Edomitic persuasion. Okay, so this is again people who were of the Edomites, and they were likened to, what do they call them specifically? Let me read it. It says, churchmen, okay, and humanists, okay. They have no business being anywhere near the scriptures. So what they're doing is they're pushing out a form of the image of the beast. All right, that's their lot. Okay, I know there's really not much to bring out in this video. That we're gonna pretty much, and unless you had a scripture, Slachia, if you had a scripture to bring out, there isn't really much to bring out otherwise. But go ahead.
I'm gonna start from verse 16 in Revelation chapter 13.
Go on. Might as well bring it up.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
So this word here for mark is the word charagma. Charagma. Okay. Let me make this quick. Charagma. There you are. It says stamp an imprinted mark of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. And that's, it's a bit all over the place, that one. But of course, it's going to be something. It says the mark branded upon horses. Okay, it's going to be something. And I started reading that. That sounded a bit. I changed it. I cut in between my sentence. Lucky. It's going to be something pertaining to cutting and whatnot. Now it says the mark branded upon horses because that's an actual cutting. Not actual necessarily. I mean, they get
Engraved.
They get engraved into their skin, marked upon them with heat, which makes a form of cutting. You know what I'm saying? It says the thing carved, sculpture, graven work of idolatrous images. So an actual carving, sculptured image. And it says it's going to be in the right hand and foreheads. It says of the followers of the Antichrist, but really, anybody who's against the Messiah is anti-Messiah. And people who actually believe the doctrine that's pushed out with these, this lies, saying that Caesar Borgia is the image of the Messiah. That's a lie, man. This is 1 John 2:18. Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist, all right, anti-Messiah, shall come, even now are there many Antichrist, whereby we know that it is the last time. Now we'll move on back to Revelation 13. Do you want to read verse 16 again, Babakosha?
Revelation chapter 13 verse 16. And he causeth all,
right,
both small and great,
right, small and great,
rich and poor, free and bond.
And America's causing all these people of different, whatever their what's the situation in their life is, in position in life. He's gonna persuade many. He's gonna enforce, people to, like, in their hearts anyway. Many people is gonna go ahead and just take it, man. You know what I'm saying? For you to go out there and follow after the ways of the image of the beast anyway, man. Go ahead.
Free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
And again, this haragma is a graven cut. In fact, I forgot to make one good point about this word. Haragma, okay, is used in Acts 17 and verse 29. It says, for as much then as we are the offspring of the Most High, we ought not to think that this Godhead is like unto gold or silver or stone, graven by art and man's device. And charagma is the root word used there. Charagmati in the sentence, and the word is charagma. And again, going into thing carved, sculpture, graven work. So it's actually a cutting and graven thing that's going to be put in people's right hand and foreheads. Keep reading.
Verse 17, that no man might buy or sell.
And this is part of that image that they're going to push out, that you can't buy or sell without this mark. Go ahead. I was just going to read. Go ahead.
Save he that had the mark, right, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
And that name, okay, take that. If you're taking that name, is really, again, it's going into taking part of that of the image, and it's taking that mark because he's pushing that name in you. He's branding you as his. Okay, the same way you go unto your woman, and then she now is a possession unto you, and she now takes your surname. Keep reading, and then we're going to read the number, but first read verse 18.
Verse 18, here is wisdom, let him hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So
we're going to look at this word, that's samek, what they call today samak in ancient Hebrew, and you can see the so-called Phoenician script, Phoenicia, and you can see there in the the modern Hebrew, so-called Yiddish. So it'll say with the vowel points, but it's really samak. And it says a Greek derivative, and it's this letter here. All right. Now, however people want to pronounce this, I believe it's xi. Okay, I believe it's xi or whatever. Okay, so this right here, uppercase will be 3 lines, and then lowercase is like that. Now, that looks quite familiar, right? we go back to Revelation 13 and 18, if we go to the last verse, what we're going to see? We're going to see chi, ksi, stigma. Or it will say chai. Let's hear it. Let's listen to it.
Strong's G 5516. Chi, xi, stigma. Chi, xi, stigma.
So this is 666, okay? But remember, it's written in Greek, and each letter in Greek actually is a symbol, because in Hebrew letters, they're also symbols for the root word having a meaning, okay? The root word and meaning going into each letter. Now, this Xi, what it means, okay, is actually very significant, because it's a derivative. It's Greek. It says alphabetic derivatives of the Phoenician. It's a derivative of samak. Now, samak, when you go into this word, actually goes into support, rest, a peg, okay, a post, a pillar, as it reads here. And that's basically a cutting, a fence, something that you cut in and you post up, right, to make a border and to mark property. Now, back to the word haragma. There's a root word for haragma, and that word is this word here, harax, and this word means a pale or stake, a palisade. Now, a stake, like a wooden stake, an actual cutting wooden stake, like for you board things, you cut into things, and what it does, it marks things, it supports things, okay? Now, that's relevant because that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to cut you, man. They're going to take their devices, their burins, their graving tools, and they're going to insert that mark within you by cutting you up, okay? And you can see with the capital version of Xi, it's actually a lot like Samak, okay? And now another letter to bring out here. If you go into stigma, stigma, because it says Xi, chi, Xi, and stigma. Okay, stigma is actually here somewhere. Okay, stigma means a mark, and it actually comes from a primary stizo, which means to stick, i.e. prick, all right, with the horax, once again. And what does it do? It marks property, because that's what you're going to be. You're going to be owned and under Iso Edom, and you're going to be completely in subjection to his image. That's what he wants you to do. Now, stigma means a mark pricked in or branded upon the body. And this word, I'm gonna read all that eventually, but not just yet. I'm gonna look at this word. It's used once, and it's translated to mark. Okay, it's going into actual scar. Okay, actual cuts and marks, and it's actually used in Galatians 6 and 17. From henceforth, let no man trouble me, for I bear in my body the marks of the Lord Yahushua. So he's referring to the actual marks that he took. All right, because Yahushua did actually get cuts. Now it says a mark pricked in or branded upon the body, or actual pricked, cut into. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, in brackets, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belong to. Again, it says that a slave did it for their master, to the name, to take their name, right, to show who their ruler is, their master, their owner. And it says, and there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods. And really, Esau Edom wants you to worship him as a god. He's blinded the whole world because the Lord has given him that power to do so, man. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 1. Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we faint not, but have renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of the Most High deceitfully, but by manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of the Most High. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost. And that's most of our people, man. A lot of our people are hooked up in this Christianity lie, okay, with these images and with these false narratives and things that are just false, and false teachings, and not even going into the laws that the Messiah followed, man. Now, it says here, verse 4, in whom the Most High of this, so in whom the God of this world, all right, the power of this world, hath blinded the minds of them which believe not. And that's Esau Edom, man. He's blinded these people, man. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Hamashiach, who is the image of the Most High, should shine unto them. So rather, he's doing his part to take away that light from shining them, all right, to shining unto them. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling my words. They're trying to be quick, but this is actually the end anyway. So I hope this video was edifying. So as you can see, just from that time, the rebirth, you can see that spread, that cancer which is called Esau Edom is just spread across the earth, man. His philosophy's been there everywhere with him. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach Kodash, Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well and labor in his word and doctrine. Shalom wa barakath, habachayar, hagawaya yasharala, meaning peace and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. Mawath lababal, shalom.
Shalom.